Hello and welcome to this very special edition of Hospitality Talks. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Katy Moses, founder and MD of KAM Media, and joining me today, we're incredibly lucky to have the CEO of Punch Pubs, Clive Chesser. Now, Punch have around 1,250 pubs throughout Britain, and they scale not the length and breadth of the geographical coverage, but also the style of pub and the type of pub. Clive, thank you so much for joining me. How are you?
Thank you, Katy. Nice to see you. I'm fine. Thank you. I'm glad it's the 1st of March. It would be true to say that I'm glad January and February are now behind us. They were long months, but things will start to feel a bit more positive, I think, now we're in March, and certainly as we get towards April, May, and then the 21st of June. Absolutely.
Well, spring is definitely in the air over here in London. So 11 months of chaos and confusion and a lot of issues that have been thrown at the industry. How's it been for Punch Pubs? What's your sort of overview on the situation?
Blimey, I'm not sure I'm ready to give it an overview yet. We're not out of it yet. Ask me in a few months' time. But how's it been? It's been really hard. No question about it. It's been really difficult for everybody. It's amazing to think that it was almost a year ago that we first started to become aware of this thing. I remember some long days sitting in our boardroom with my team who were brilliant and trying to work out how we would get through this crisis that was going to last 3 months, I think was our original plan. And since then, we've locked down a business, we've reopened it, we've locked it down again, we've reopened some of it, we're in lockdown again, and we're heading towards a reopening, which hopefully will be the final one. So it's been really complicated. People have been brilliant. The Punch team, our publicans, our owners, investors have really pulled together, and there's been an incredible sort of can-do spirit, I think, to try and get everybody through this. We try to really support our team and support our publicans as well as we possibly can, and we talked about just getting everybody through to the other side.
Mm-hmm. And when you talk about support, can you expand at all on the type of support that you've given to the teams and to your licensees?
Yeah, sure. So we've actually kept most of the people in the Punch business working throughout this. So either working full time or working, some of them at the minute, working on a part-time flexi furlough basis. And I think that's been really important actually for the team to keep engaged and to keep sort of plugged into the business, but also for our publicans, where we've had regular support and visit to our publicans all the way through this. And actually we've carried on working pretty hard. So we've been working on investments. So we've invested in actually over 200 of our pubs in the last few months in garden spaces in particular. So trying to get ready last summer, and we're still doing this because clearly gardens are going to be particularly important in April when we're able to open outside space first. Mm-hmm. So we've been investing, we've been working with publicans all the way through on providing information, communication. So some of the technical stuff and breaking that down into easy to digest information, but also some advice and some of the approach to the openings and the next opening, and trying to hit the ground running. While at the same time, clearly providing some important financial support. So in the form of particularly in rent concessions. So all of our Thai pubs at the minute, for example, are receiving 75% rent concessions, which put alongside the government support is hopefully going to get them through to the other side and enable us to get the doors open again when we can, and once the restrictions start to be lifted, head back towards being running profitable businesses.
And on that note of government support, in your view, what we've had, has it been enough? What do we need more? Because going forward, this isn't a case of pubs just opening their doors and trading at 100%. So, what do you think is necessary going forward as we look forward to the budget, for example, on Wednesday, I believe it is, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's a really critical day for us, actually, Wednesday. But I think overall the government support has been inconsistent. It started off really well. So I think the speed of action from the Chancellor right from the beginning a year ago was really impressive, and the grants that came in were incredibly important. And then over time, we've seen the government responses, the support, but also the knee-jerk reactions that we had to how the restrictions they put in place. So, you know, some of the crazy stuff around substantial food and Scotch egg gate and the curfew felt a bit knee-jerk. And then more recently, it's become more planned and coherent again. And some of the support has been really strong. Let's be honest. You know, some of the grants that have come through, the business rate support. But what's crucial now, and the budget in 2 days' time is really crucial that we see that continued. We see it continued for the here and now. So the period between now and the 21st of June is essential that support is in place so that publicans can work back towards being able to trade properly and normality to return to pubs. But also beyond that as well. So we're certainly not out of the woods by the time we get back open. We'll need support for months, a year at least. And so it's really crucial that on Wednesday we see the Chancellor commit to business rates, holiday extending for another year. The extension to VAT needs to last probably another year, but if not that, certainly months. Currently that scheme is of no use to us when we're closed. I call it furloughed. And you know, we need to see that back in place and preferably widened as well. We need to see a cut in beer duty. There's a huge disproportionate amount of tax that pubs pay through beer duty. This is a chance for the Chancellor to correct that. We're campaigning for a 5% cut in beer duty, and we really hope that we see that. We need to see the grants extended, and actually some really positive news yesterday where the Chancellor's committed to further grants, so the reopening grants that will be in place. We need to see furlough extended as well. So there's still a lot to be clarified. We've had to wait from the last announcement, the budget, you know, running 8 days after that, so a bit of a limbo period, but crucial that we see that support come through. I believe it will actually. I think, you know, all the indications are that we should be seeing this support continued, but it's so critical that it actually happens.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned earlier that you've been supporting your licensees to prepare for reopening. Where do you sit on the conversation about the sort of pub or hospitality at home debate? You know, have you put together initiatives that allow your licensees to take their offering into people's homes? And do you see that as something that might continue to be a revenue stream?
Yeah, that's been one of the interesting things, I think, and one of the positives that comes out of this nightmare is there are some areas where we've, you know, developed our knowledge and learning, and particularly around technology and order apps and pay apps and other devices. But takeaway and delivery, I think, has been really interesting. So, you know, clearly there's been an urgent need to fast track our ability to move the pub into people's homes and take that experience. And I'd say we've been learning as we go. You know, we've still got a lot to learn. We're learning about which offers work best. We're learning about how to utilize kitchen space, understanding the margin chain and how actually these things can work. So if you work with Deliveroo, how this can work within the leased and tenanted model, within the managed partnership model that we operate as well. And then what will the ongoing demand be once pubs reopen? What's the sustainability of this new income stream? I'm sure it's here to stay, and I'm sure that you know, more and more prevalent that we will become. We'll develop expertise in creating that sort of pub experiential offer in a takeaway or a delivery channel. And we've made some fast strides. We've learned quite a lot, but we've still got a lot ahead of us. But it's been useful actually, and I'm sure some of it will stick, and it will be important for the years ahead.
Mm-hmm. And that kind of takes me on to the idea of the consumer bounce back. You know, is everybody going to be running back into the pub as quickly as possible? Are there going to be some people that sort of hold themselves back and that have got used to being at home? You know, we interview consumers every single day and we get a mixed picture very often. What's your view on what we've got coming?
Yeah, well, I mean, you're probably better placed than me to have a view. This is your expertise. I mean, my view is that if we take learnings from last summer, you know, we were surprised actually. We were pleasantly surprised at the strength of the bounce back and the level of trade that we were able to generate in the summer months last year. I think that tells us something. It tells us at least that there's a short-term bounce, whether that would last and be sustained over a period of time, or whether it would be a sort of short-term spring that gets uncoiled and everybody charges out. We need to see that that's sustainable. We also saw that there were some groups in society that were a bit slower to come back out and a bit more cautious. That's maybe not surprising, and it'll be interesting to see whether the vaccine program builds more confidence into those areas, those groups that were a little slower last time. But actually, fundamentally, it's down to us. It's down to us to build confidence in enabling our customers to feel safe and secure, putting the experiential offers that actually will entice them back out of their home. I'm really mindful of the fact that the research says it takes 66 days for a new habit to form. And we've been locked down for more than 66 days, and we've got about another 40 odd days to go before even the garden's open. So people have had a lot of time to form new habits, and we need to rebuild their old habits and create new fun ones. So I think we've got to work really hard to create the experiential offers that entice people back out of their home and homes that they've been working on this year, and we've got to offer something different. And I don't think it's about price or just about price. It's about creating the kind of experiences where they want to share with their friends and family and loved ones in our pubs. And then, of course, there's a few other factors that will be at play. So, the long-term shift towards work from home will no doubt make a difference. Outside space, I think, will be more important on a permanent basis. The impact of travel, certainly for this year, so there'll be a boom in staycation, and we'll see the longer-term impact of the economy and how unemployment, where unemployment settles. All those things will have an impact. We think the Punch estate is relatively well placed to benefit from some of those shifts, but certainly we're not complacent that everyone's just going to run back in as soon as we open the doors. We're going to have to work really hard to entice people in.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think that people have forgotten how much fun it can be, and need to be reminded of how safe it is as well, because obviously when we reopened after the first lockdown, safety was a major concern for the consumers, but some of the work that we were doing, consumers were telling us they were incredibly happy with how safe they felt when they were actually out in trade. So it's about enticing them to actually come out in the first place, and then, that sort of like, oh yeah, I remember how great this is feeling. And just lastly, Clive, as one of the largest pub companies in the UK, you participate in the Licensee Index, which is the industry standard benchmarking survey that speaks to licensees throughout the UK once a year that KAM runs. I wanted to just cover off something that I thought was fantastic within that survey, which is that the overall ratings for pub companies, and there's 19 of you guys in it, the overall rating for pub companies has increased quite dramatically this year, and that the licensees are happier. They are, the net promoter scores have pretty much across the board all gone up. The likelihood to recommend to another publican has pretty much gone up. What do you see in that program that matters to you, and what do you think the reasoning behind this massive lift in satisfaction towards pub companies from licensees comes from?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. And, I've had a chance to study it over the last few days, Katie, and it's been probably the most important licensee index that we've done because of the timing. And actually, I mean, some of those words you use around, publicans being happier or more satisfied, I'm not sure that we can measure it in a normal way. So I don't think they're happy or satisfied, but I think it's a really honest assessment of how they feel that we've responded to the crisis and looked after them over the last year. And I was delighted to see the Punch scores get better almost across the board, actually, and real credit to our operations team, especially, who scored really strongly. And I think that is testament to the contact that we've had and the communication that we've provided. And I think it's a really honest bit of feedback, actually, from our publicans, who also understand that for us this has been incredibly challenging, as it has for them. I think there's a reflection that the financial support and the rent support that's been provided has been really valuable and crucial and appreciated, but also some of the softer advice and just having a sounding board to pick up the phone to. And actually, I think if you look across the whole spectrum of all the companies that you include in the survey, but I looked particularly at the bigger Tide pubcos, who often, we take a bit of a battering sometimes in the media, but I think this is a really powerful visual illustration of of where the Tide pub model really works well, and the partnership model, because right across the board, all of the big Tide pubcos have improved their scores, and I'm really encouraged by that. Actually, I think that's great to see, and I think that we should make sure that we learn from that. Yep. We understand the things that are of most value to our publicans, to our customers. And that we do more of that in the future. But hopefully we'll come out of this with relationships in a stronger place than we went in.
Absolutely. I think you're totally right. The scores definitely reflect that. The anecdotal evidence reflects that. The conversations that we had, whilst doing that field work reflect that as well. So Clive Chesser from Punch Pubs, thank you so much for giving me your time for Hospitality Talks. And I look forward to having a beer with you in a maybe pub garden, maybe pub, as soon as possible.
Absolutely. Thanks, Katie.
Thank you.